When it comes to romantic relationships, cheating stirs up intense feelings and sparks heated conversations that seem to go on forever. While experts might use fancy words like infidelity, most of us simply call it cheating. That moment when someone breaks the promises they made to their partner, whether those promises were about being physically faithful, emotionally connected, or both. It doesn't matter if we're talking about getting too close to someone else emotionally, being physically intimate outside the relationship, or even flirting online. The end result is always the same. Someone gets hurt, trust gets shattered, and hearts get broken. But here's the thing. Understanding why people cheat isn't just about pointing fingers and deciding who's the bad guy. It's actually a really complicated issue that connects to how our minds work, what society expects from us, and those big questions about staying loyal versus following our desires and making our own choices. When we talk about cheating in romantic relationships, what the professionals call infidelity, there's no single definition that everyone agrees on. What counts as crossing the line changes based on where you're from, what you personally believe, and what rules each couple decides to follow. Some people think cheating only happens when there's physical stuff involved, kissing, sex, or other intimate touching that breaks the promise to be physically exclusive with your partner. But others see it much more broadly, saying that getting emotionally close to someone else, sharing your deepest thoughts with them instead of your partner, or even certain online activities like sending sexy messages or heavy flirting also count as cheating. Generally speaking, cheating falls into two main types that sometimes overlap: physical betrayal and emotional betrayal. Physical betrayal means getting sexually or physically intimate with someone who isn't your partner. This usually includes kissing, having sex, or other kinds of intimate touching that directly breaks the physical exclusivity that many couples see as absolutely essential. Emotional betrayal, however, means building a strong emotional connection with someone outside your relationship, often while shutting out your partner, telling intimate secrets and personal thoughts to someone else, or spending way too much time talking to another person. When you're hiding all this from your partner, it's often seen as emotional betrayal. Even though there might not be any physical contact, it can hurt trust and emotional safety just as much. How technology changes modern betrayal. In our digital world, technology and social media have created new ways for people to be unfaithful. Dating apps, messaging platforms, and social networks make it easy to have secret conversations and form connections that can quickly turn into emotional or physical affairs. Even something that seems harmless, like giving lots of likes to someone's sexy photos, can become problematic, depending on what boundaries a couple has set and how much they trust each other. Why clear relationship rules matter so much. A lot of arguments about cheating happen because couples never actually talked about what's okay and what isn't. In relationships where both people agree to only be with each other, any sexual or romantic involvement with someone else is usually seen as betrayal. But in open relationships, or ones where partners can have multiple connections, people might be okay with their partner connecting with others in certain ways, as long as everyone's honest and follows the agreed-upon rules. Setting clear limits that both people talk about openly and agree to can help avoid confusion. For lots of people, being unfaithful isn't really about what they did. It's about the sneaking around and lying that went with it. Being open and honest, even about difficult subjects, can actually make trust and commitment stronger. How different times and cultures have viewed betrayal. Cheating has been around in one form or another throughout all of human history. Ancient societies often had harsh legal or social punishments for being unfaithful, especially for women. These punishments were usually meant to support male-dominated systems, making sure men could be certain of their children's parentage and keeping society stable. As time went on, different religions developed strong moral rules against adultery. In faiths like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, adultery has long been seen as a serious sin, sometimes even carrying tough legal punishments. Cultural attitudes have changed a lot over the centuries because of things like industrialization, people becoming less religious, and women gaining more economic freedom. Some societies still strongly disapprove of cheating, while others might be more accepting or even romanticize it. Books, movies, and media often show this conflict by presenting extramarital affairs as both devastating and romantic at the same time. Looking at different cultures shows huge differences in how unfaithfulness is viewed and handled. In cultures that focus on the group over the individual, one person's affair might bring shame to their whole family. But in cultures that emphasize personal happiness and individual choice, the focus on personal satisfaction might sometimes create a more accepting attitude toward looking for connections outside the main relationship. Understanding the mind. Why people cheat. Some researchers who study evolution suggest that the biological drive to spread our genes might make certain people naturally want multiple partners. But cultural influences and emotional needs also play major roles in unfaithfulness. When we look at why people have affairs, we see that certain emotional patterns make some folks more likely to step outside their relationship. People who constantly worry about being abandoned or those who keep their distance from emotional closeness often struggle with deep-seated fears that push them toward unfaithful behavior. Similarly, individuals who think too highly of themselves act on impulse or show traits like being manipulative or lacking empathy tend to cheat more often. Sometimes the problem lies within the relationship itself. When someone feels emotionally neglected, sexually unfulfilled, or overwhelmed by life's pressures, they might start looking elsewhere for what they're missing. The situation becomes even riskier when the right circumstances present themselves, like spending lots of time away from home for work, traveling frequently, or being around people who think affairs are no big deal. Once someone starts cheating, their mind begins playing tricks on them. They find ways to convince themselves that what they're doing isn't so bad, or they come up with excuses that make their behavior seem reasonable. This mental juggling act makes it harder for them to admit what they've done and work toward fixing things. From a deeper thinking perspective, having an affair touches on some big questions about right and wrong, staying loyal, being true to yourself, and what we really want in life. Ancient thinkers like Plato and Aristotle talked about important qualities like being faithful and showing self-control, emphasizing how we need to keep our desires in check while doing the right thing. More recent philosophers who focus on personal freedom and taking responsibility for our choices ask tough questions. Is it better to stay true to yourself by leaving an unhappy relationship, or should you honor your promises even if it makes you miserable? Those who believe in following moral rules say cheating breaks basic principles about being honest and treating others with respect. Others look at the damage that affairs cause and point out how much pain and broken trust usually follows. Philosophers who focus on good character traits argue that cheating shows serious flaws in a person, like being selfish or too scared to face relationship problems directly. The emotional fallout from affairs hits hard on all sides. The person who got cheated on typically goes through a whirlwind of feelings: complete shock, burning anger, deep sadness, and serious self-doubt. Building back trust feels nearly impossible, and many people develop ongoing worry or even symptoms similar to trauma. The person who had the affair might feel terrible guilt and shame, or they might get defensive and try to justify what they did. Getting close again becomes incredibly difficult, whether we're talking about physical intimacy or just opening up emotionally. The ripple effects don't stop with the couple either. Family members, friends, and their whole social circle often get pulled into the drama, creating tension and forcing people to pick sides. How society reacts to affairs has its own complications. Movies and TV shows sometimes make cheating look exciting or don't show how much it really hurts people. There's often a double standard where men who cheat get judged less harshly than women, though this is slowly changing. Nowadays, with social media, some people who've been cheated on share their stories online, which can lead to public shaming and even legal problems. At the same time, more people are exploring different relationship styles that allow for multiple partners with everyone's agreement. When someone suspects their partner is cheating, the best approach is to stay calm and talk about what they've noticed rather than making angry accusations. If the cheating gets confirmed, the person who had the affair can choose to be completely honest about everything or keep hiding details. Getting help from a relationship counselor can be incredibly valuable for working through all the hurt feelings and figuring out if the relationship can survive. Not every relationship makes it through an affair. For some people, it's absolutely the end of the line, but others see it as a wake-up call that forces them to finally deal with problems they'd been ignoring for too long. Learning to forgive is incredibly complicated and doesn't mean pretending the betrayal never happened or that it was okay. Real forgiveness means acknowledging how much the cheating hurt while gradually letting go of the anger and resentment. Building trust back requires the cheating partner to be completely open, show genuine understanding of the pain they caused, and consistently act in ways that prove they're truly sorry. Some couples actually come out stronger on the other side, using the crisis as motivation to communicate better and fix long-standing issues they'd been avoiding. Others realize the damage cuts too deep and that splitting up is the healthiest choice for everyone involved. The best defense against cheating starts with good communication habits, regularly checking in with each other about how the relationship is going, and being honest about your own needs and feelings. Working on personal insecurities, fears about relationships, or unhappiness in healthy ways can prevent someone from looking for validation outside their partnership. Keeping romance and physical connection alive takes real effort from both people. Setting appropriate boundaries with other people, especially at work or in social situations, helps protect the relationship from temptation. The goal is building a strong partnership where both people feel appreciated, understood, and happy with what they have together. Having an affair in a romantic relationship connects to so many aspects of human behavior, cultural expectations, moral questions, and individual psychology. The damage can be life-changing, affecting not just the couple, but entire families and their futures. But it can also serve as a powerful moment for reflection, pushing people to really examine what they value, what they want, and whether they're capable of growing and changing. When we understand all the different factors that can lead to unfaithfulness, along with the emotional and social consequences that follow, we're better equipped to make thoughtful decisions about love, trust, and staying committed to someone. When someone breaks their partner's trust by having an affair, it might seem like only pain comes from it. But surprisingly, these painful experiences can sometimes lead people to understand themselves better and even build stronger connections down the road. No matter if a couple chooses to work things out or go their separate ways, being open and caring with each other makes all the difference. Our relationships are complicated, and we all need both love and the responsibility that comes with it. Looking at unfaithfulness gives us a window into who we are, how we connect with others, and how our ideas about right and wrong keep changing. We can talk about the psychology behind cheating all day, but hearing actual stories from real people makes everything much clearer and more meaningful. Every affair has its own story and feelings wrapped up in it. Some people might find themselves getting too close to someone at their job or through a hobby they share, never planning for anything romantic to happen, but then realizing they've developed strong feelings over time. Others might carefully plan secret meetings because they want something new and different, or they're trying to get away from problems at home. Let's imagine a married couple we'll call Archer and Trisha, who've been together for more than 20 years. They've raised kids together and handled money together, but somewhere along the way, they stopped really connecting with each other emotionally. They got busy with work and started hanging out with different friends. Archer started feeling ignored and, like Trisha, didn't really get them anymore. So Archer began talking to someone at work who seemed to really listen and care. These talks got more and more personal, and pretty soon they were happening after work hours too. Before long, they were texting late at night and meeting up on weekends. Eventually, things became romantic between them. When Trisha found out about what was happening, both Archer and this coworker said they had fallen in love with each other. This situation shows us some important things. Archer wasn't happy emotionally. There was a chance to get close because they worked together, and Archer and Trisha weren't talking honestly about what they needed from each other. What Archer did wrong wasn't just one thing. Archer didn't just break the promise to be faithful. Archer also formed a deep connection with someone else that became more important than the marriage. Trisha felt completely shocked and betrayed, wondering what had gone wrong and if their marriage could possibly be fixed. Let's think about another situation with a different couple, Paige and Dylan, who seemed perfectly happy to everyone who knew them. Everyone thought of Paige as someone who really valued being loyal, and Dylan was seen as a husband who truly cared about his wife. But Dylan had to travel a lot for his job, which left Paige feeling alone and wishing she had more company. She started talking to an old friend again through social media, just saying hello at first. As weeks went by, they began remembering their teenage hopes and things they wished they had done differently. These conversations became deeper and more emotional and eventually led to a secret meeting where they shared a romantic moment. For Paige, this experience was confusing because she felt both guilty and excited at the same time. She was shocked to discover that she could cross a line she had always thought was absolutely wrong to cross. These examples show us the different reasons and situations that lead to affairs. Sometimes people are missing something emotionally that they might not even realize they need until someone else starts giving it to them. Other times, people are looking for something new and exciting that takes them away from their regular life. Also, phones and computers often make things easier because it's so simple to reconnect with people from your past or meet new people online, and it feels private and secret. Real stories also show us how people lie to themselves. Many people who cheat will tell themselves at first that what they're doing isn't harmful or that they have good reasons for it. They might think they deserve to be happy or that their partner wouldn't be upset if they really understood the situation. These excuses don't just make the affair last longer, they also make the hurt much worse when everything comes out. The longer someone keeps lying, the more emotions get involved, which makes it much more painful when the betrayed partner finally discovers what's been happening. Sometimes cheating creates a complicated situation where three people all have emotional connections. The person who's being unfaithful might find things in their affair partner that are different from what they have at home. Maybe more fun, more praise, or more interesting conversations that seem to be missing in their marriage. But at the same time, they might still love their spouse deeply and feel pulled between the safety of their long relationship and the excitement of this new connection. This inner struggle can be incredibly stressful and might show up as worry, sadness, or unpredictable behavior. Another important part to think about is the people who choose to get involved with someone who's already in a relationship. These people have their own reasons and feelings too. Some might hope that the cheating person will eventually leave their spouse so they can have a real relationship together. Others might actually like that the affair is temporary, enjoying the intense emotions without wanting all the responsibilities that come with a serious commitment. These third people can end up getting hurt badly too, feeling like they were used or lied to if the cheating person decides to stay with their original partner. On top of all this, Judgment from other people and social shame can make everything worse. Friends and family members often pick sides, sometimes criticizing not just the cheating spouse, but also the other person involved. In the worst cases, entire groups of friends fall apart because people have to choose who to support. Real-life situations show us how cheating affects way more people than just the couple involved. When someone has an affair, it ripples out to hurt family members, friends, and everyone who cares about them. When we look closely at these situations, we discover that cheating usually isn't just about being selfish or mean. Instead, it often comes from deeper feelings. People desperately wanting to feel loved, dealing with pain, or genuinely trying to find someone who understands them, even though they're going about it all wrong. These stories teach us that betrayal happens when emotional wounds, life circumstances, and personal struggles all come together at the worst possible time. Understanding this complexity shows us why staying aware of our feelings, talking openly with our partner, and working to prevent problems are so important for keeping a relationship strong and healthy, spotting trouble before it starts, and fixing broken conversations. Preventing affairs means learning to notice when your relationship might be heading toward danger. These warning signs don't mean cheating will definitely happen, but they do show that something's wrong underneath the surface. If you ignore these problems, they could eventually lead to betrayal. When you pay attention to small changes in how someone acts, emotional pulling away, or new priorities taking over, you and your partner can start talking about what's really going on and maybe fix things before they get worse. One major red flag is when talking to each other becomes harder and harder. Conversations that used to be fun and easy might turn short and businesslike, or they might be full of anger and stress. This breakdown often starts with fights that never really get resolved. Maybe one person feels like their partner never really listens to them, so they start pulling away emotionally. When this happens, important emotional needs don't get met, creating an empty space where closeness used to be. People in this situation might find themselves drawn to others outside their relationship because they're looking for the understanding and care they're not getting at home. Another thing to watch for is when someone starts acting secretive about things they used to be open about. For example, if your partner suddenly starts guarding their phone or laptop, changing passwords, or quickly closing screens when you walk into the room, they might be hiding something. Now, wanting more privacy doesn't automatically mean someone's cheating. Some people just need their personal space. But it's worth paying attention if this behavior is totally different from how they usually act. Other concerning changes might include spending way more time at work than usual, getting involved with new friends who never include you, or becoming oddly unwilling to share what happened during their day. When partners start feeling emotionally disconnected, that's another serious warning sign. You might still live in the same house and do daily tasks together, but the feeling of really knowing each other, appreciating each other, or truly being seen might slowly disappear. Physical intimacy might become routine and rare, and those little loving gestures, like hugging, holding hands, or sharing the good and bad parts of your day, might stop happening. Sometimes one person tries to fix these problems, but the other person denies anything's wrong or gets defensive. When you can't have productive conversations about what's bothering you, it creates frustration that might push someone to look for comfort somewhere else. Holding on to anger and hurt feelings also sets the stage for cheating. This bitterness can build up from feeling like you're doing more than your fair share around the house, money problems, disagreeing about how to raise kids, or even old hurts that never got talked through properly. When these resentful feelings are allowed to grow, they poison the emotional atmosphere of the relationship, making it much harder for partners to be vulnerable with each other or ask for support. As talking gets more difficult, partners start assuming the worst about each other's motives, which creates even more conflict and pushes them further apart emotionally. Sometimes the warning signs are much more subtle. Someone might develop feelings for a person outside their relationship. They might tell themselves it's just an innocent crush or a harmless friendship. But gradually, the boundary between friendship and emotional cheating can become unclear. When you start sharing important personal things with this new person instead of your partner, it weakens the sense of closeness in your main relationship. Often, the person getting emotionally involved with someone else downplays what's happening, convincing themselves it's nothing serious or just friendly support, without realizing they're crossing lines that lead to deeper involvement. Money troubles, big life changes, and health problems can also shake up a relationship and make cheating more likely to happen. When partners are dealing with serious stress, they sometimes don't have enough emotional energy left to take care of each other. One or both people might shut down emotionally, either because they're trying to handle their own worries or because they simply don't know how to help their partner through difficult feelings. During these fragile times, getting comfort from someone outside the relationship, whether it's a coworker, an old friend, or someone they met online, can start filling that emotional gap and create the foundation for an affair. Noticing these warning signs is just the beginning. What really matters is doing something about them before it's too late. Partners need to have honest, open conversations about what's going wrong, and sometimes that means getting help from a therapist or counselor to work through the deeper issues. Even simple changes like making sure you spend some quality time together every day, just talking and really listening to each other, can start rebuilding those emotional connections that keep relationships strong. When one person in a relationship brings up something that's bothering them, their partner needs to really listen instead of getting defensive right away. This creates a comfortable environment where both people can talk openly about what's going on. A lot of couples find it helpful to have regular conversations where they each share how they're feeling, what's stressing them out, and what they need from each other. These kinds of talks help people be more honest and understand each other better. When couples start doing this, they begin to look past their own frustrations and really see what their partner is going through. Let's say someone admits they've been feeling disconnected or unsatisfied physically. Instead of letting these feelings turn into something that might lead to cheating, the couple can work together to find good ways to handle these issues. Sometimes people might notice these warning signs in themselves, realizing they're feeling restless or emotionally distant from their partner. Instead of waiting until things get really bad, recognizing these feelings of dissatisfaction or attraction to others can actually be really valuable self-awareness. Talking about these uncomfortable emotions can help couples reconnect or decide to get help from a counselor before the temptation to be unfaithful becomes too strong. This approach of dealing with problems early doesn't just protect trust between partners. It actually makes their connection stronger because it's built on being honest and really understanding each other, which is crucial for relationships that last. Looking at different types of relationships, we see that being with just one person has been the normal expectation in most cultures for a long time. This idea gets support from laws, religious beliefs, and what society expects from people. But nowadays, we're seeing more different ways of having relationships. Things like having multiple loving relationships, open relationships, and partner swapping groups all have their own approaches to handling romantic and physical desires. Looking at these different styles can teach us about setting boundaries, being transparent, and respecting each other to avoid the problems that come with cheating. In regular one-partner relationships, both people expect that they'll only be romantic and physical with each other. When someone breaks this agreement, it's considered cheating, which causes all the hurt feelings that come with being betrayed. People who prefer this traditional approach say it provides emotional safety, clear rules about what's right and wrong, and support from society. But others point out that these arrangements can feel limiting if partners don't talk about how their wants and needs change over time. Expecting one person to meet all of your emotional and physical needs for your whole life might not be realistic for everyone, which could lead to secret affairs. Having multiple loving relationships at the same time works differently. Everyone involved knows about and agrees to all the relationships happening. People in these arrangements focus heavily on being honest, talking things through, and constantly communicating about what each person is comfortable with, emotionally and physically. Supporters say this approach can reduce the hurt that comes with betrayal because new relationships are discussed openly rather than hidden. But having multiple relationships doesn't automatically prevent dishonesty or jealousy. The emotional side of things can get complicated, especially when people aren't clear about their rules or don't communicate well enough. Even though this style is supposed to be transparent, cheating can still happen if someone breaks the rules everyone agreed on or hides important information. Open relationships usually let partners have physical encounters with other people while keeping emotional connections just between the main couple. In this setup, partners might have casual encounters or exciting experiences with others as long as they follow certain rules. These rules might limit how frequently someone can see an outside partner, what activities are okay, and whether getting emotionally involved is allowed. Even though open relationships are based on clear agreements, cheating becomes a problem if someone hides an encounter, breaks a rule they agreed to, or develops deeper feelings that were supposed to be off limits. Just like with multiple relationships, open arrangements need constant talking and mutual respect to work well. Partner swapping communities offer yet another approach, usually focusing on fun physical activities without getting emotionally attached. Couples who participate in this lifestyle often do it together, going to events or gatherings where consensual partner switching or group intimacy happens. Strict rules, like only engaging with people at organized events, are typical. Critics say it's hard to keep strong emotional boundaries, while supporters argue that the open, shared nature of these activities reduces secrecy and lying. Cheating in this situation happens when someone decides to break the rules everyone agreed on, maybe by meeting someone from an event privately or forming a secret emotional connection. The important thing across all these different relationship styles is that consent, communication, and clearly stated boundaries are essential. In relationships that aren't limited to one partner, the difference between an ethical open arrangement and cheating often depends on whether everyone involved knows what's happening and agrees to how things work. Lying, whether it's about emotions or physical encounters, damages trust just as deeply in open or multiple partner relationships as it does in traditional one-partner relationships. From a psychological viewpoint, alternative relationship models might appeal to people who feel restricted by traditional expectations, or who recognize they have a variety of emotional and physical needs that might be difficult for just one partner to satisfy. For some people, having one committed partner provides the emotional steadiness and safety they crave more than experiencing variety or juggling multiple relationships. It's worth noting that no type of relationship setup is automatically protected from infidelity. Problems like dishonesty, unfulfilled desires, and poor communication can happen in any relationship style, whether you're with one person or several. How society views these different approaches is changing too. Many places still see being with one person as the standard way to do things, backed up by traditions like marriage. But younger people in certain cultures are starting to consider open arrangements and having multiple loving relationships as real options. Even so, in more traditional communities, people who choose something other than the one-partner model often face judgment or rejection from others. This social pressure makes things even trickier for people who believe in having multiple honest relationships. They might feel they have to hide how they really live, which ironically makes sneaky behavior and feelings of betrayal more likely. The key thing is that every relationship style needs people to really know themselves and treat each other with respect. People need to understand what they can handle emotionally, what makes them feel jealous, and why they want a certain kind of relationship. When someone feels forced into a relationship style they don't really want, anger and resentment can grow, setting the stage for dishonesty. But when partners honestly agree on what kind of relationship they both want, they can set up rules that match what they believe in and what makes them comfortable, making secret affairs much less likely. When we compare different relationship styles, it becomes clear that cheating isn't just something that happens because people are supposed to be with only one person. Instead, it comes from breaking trust and keeping secrets. People who openly have multiple relationships show us that you can be involved with several people without cheating, as long as everyone knows what's happening and agrees to it. On the flip side, people in one-partner relationships can stay completely faithful if they both talk openly and deal with any problems that come up right away. In the end, whether someone chooses to be with one person, multiple people they love, open relationships, or swinging groups depends on what matters to them personally, what they need emotionally, and whether they're willing to keep talking things through. Getting to know these different ways of doing relationships can help people avoid cheating by deliberately picking the style that fits best with how they feel and what they need. When we look deeper into the science behind cheating, we can better understand why people cheat by studying the biological and brain-related factors that affect how humans form bonds, feel attracted to others, and make choices. While the culture around us and our personal beliefs definitely shape how we act, looking at what's happening in our bodies and brains can give us extra clues about why some people might feel driven to find closeness or excitement outside their main relationship. Brain chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin have a huge impact on our feelings and wants. Dopamine, which some people call the feel-good chemical, is connected to behavior that seeks rewards and pleasure. When people start a new romantic or physical connection, dopamine floods their system and creates feelings of excitement, joy, and desire. In the beginning stages of a secret affair, this powerful dopamine rush might push aside worries about right and wrong or what might happen later. The thrill of something new can be overwhelming, leading people to keep meeting in secret just to feel that emotional rush again. Oxytocin, which many call the bonding hormone, is really important for creating connections and attachment between people. Your body releases it during close physical moments like hugging, kissing, and being intimate, and it makes you feel closer and more trusting. In a steady relationship with one person, oxytocin helps make the connection between partners stronger. But if someone starts getting physically or emotionally close with someone outside their relationship, oxytocin works the same way and can make them feel attached to the person they're having an affair with, making it harder to stop seeing them. Looking at human evolution adds another angle to think about. Some researchers think that, just from the perspective of having children and passing on genes, both men and women might benefit from having multiple partners. Men could potentially spread their genes to more offspring, while women might look for partners with good qualities or extra resources. Of course, these ideas make human behavior seem simpler than it really is by only focusing on reproductive benefits, and today's society usually values emotional connections, supporting each other, and doing what's right over just passing on genes. The front part of the brain, called the prefrontal cortex, which handles things like controlling impulses and making decisions, also plays a big role when people cheat. When people are stressed, tired, or dealing with emotional problems, this part of the brain doesn't work as well, making it harder to resist temptation. For instance, someone with a stressful job, not enough sleep, or unresolved emotional issues might have trouble thinking about the long-term consequences of having an affair when they're focused on immediate pleasure. Each person's genetic makeup might influence traits like acting without thinking, wanting new experiences, or being willing to take risks, which could make cheating more likely. Studies on a specific dopamine receptor called DRDGA D4 suggests that certain genetic variations are linked to higher rates of unfaithfulness and seeking thrilling experiences. However, having these gene variations doesn't mean someone will definitely cheat. Biology and brain chemistry play a big role in why people sometimes cheat on their partners, but they're not the whole story. Your personal values, life situation, and mental health all matter just as much. When we experience something new and exciting romantically or sexually, our brains light up with pleasure chemicals that make us feel amazing. As relationships settle into comfortable routines over months and years, those intense chemical rushes naturally fade. The connection can grow deeper and more meaningful, but the part of your brain that craves excitement might start looking elsewhere, maybe toward harmless flirting, a secret attraction, or even a full affair. This brain science doesn't excuse anyone's choices, but it helps explain why good people sometimes make bad decisions. Scientists have studied the brains of people who say they're head over heels in love, and the scans look surprisingly similar to those of people struggling with drug addiction. The same reward centers are firing intensely. When someone gets involved in an affair, these powerful brain responses can create a cycle that's hard to break, much like how someone with an addiction keeps chasing their next fix. Breaking free often means finding new, healthier ways to get that sense of excitement and reward, ways that don't hurt your partner. Knowing how our brains work makes it clear why couples need to be intentional about keeping their relationship fresh and interesting. You can work together to try new things, create special memories, and talk openly about what you both want and dream about. These conversations might feel awkward at first, but they're incredibly valuable. Professional counseling can help people figure out what triggers their risky behavior and learn better ways to handle stress, worry, or feeling stuck in a rut. But here's the important part. We can't just blame everything on biology. Yes, our brain chemistry and evolutionary history might push us towards seeking variety and new connections, but every person still gets to choose their actions. Your upbringing, moral beliefs, cultural background, and understanding of how betrayal hurts people all influence your decisions alongside these biological urges. When you understand how all these pieces fit together, you're better equipped to handle temptation and make choices that match your commitments and values. The bottom line is that humans are naturally wired to want closeness, novelty, and affection. But we're not prisoners of our brain chemistry or ancient instincts. Being aware of what's happening inside your head, talking honestly with your partner, and making deliberate efforts to keep your relationship strong can help you resist these natural pulls. Understanding the science behind these feelings doesn't make them go away, but it does give you more power to respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting on impulse. This way, your relationship choices come from a place of caring, respect, and taking responsibility rather than just following whatever feels good in the moment. When people talk about cheating, they often bring up open relationships, having multiple partners, or what experts call ethical non-monogamy. These terms can be confusing, so it's worth understanding the difference between arrangements everyone agrees to and actual betrayal. Ethical non-monogamy means everyone involved knows about and agrees to romantic or physical connections outside the main relationship. Cheating is completely different. It involves lying, hiding things, and breaking the rules that partners have agreed to follow, whether they've chosen to be exclusive or not. The foundation of ethical non-monogamy is honest conversation, mutual agreement, and respecting whatever guidelines you've set up together. Maybe a couple decides they can occasionally date other people as long as they talk about it first and get the okay from each other. In polyamorous relationships, people might have several serious romantic relationships at the same time, with everyone knowing about and being comfortable with the arrangement. What makes this different from cheating is that everything is out in the open. When everyone knows what's happening and has agreed to it, there's no broken trust. But even in these open arrangements, cheating can still happen. If someone in a polyamorous relationship secretly starts seeing someone new without telling their other partners, that breaks the agreement to be honest with each other. The hurt and anger that the other partners feel is just as real as it would be in a traditional exclusive relationship. So cheating isn't just about being with multiple people, it's about lying and breaking the promises you've made to each other. Some people are drawn to ethical non-monogamy because they recognize that what they need emotionally or physically might change over time. Someone might want new experiences, different kinds of emotional connections, or deeper bonds that one relationship might not provide completely. By making space for these explorations while staying honest and getting consent, couples try to prevent secret affairs from happening. But being ethically non-monogamous isn't a magic solution for relationship problems. It requires excellent communication skills, emotional maturity, and the courage to deal with jealousy head-on when it comes up. When people decide to have open relationships, they need to talk about what's okay and what isn't. These conversations aren't just one-time things. Couples have to keep checking in with each other because how they feel about things can shift over time. You know how some people think open relationships are just a free-for-all? That's really not true. Most couples who choose this path actually have pretty detailed agreements about how things should work. They might decide they need to tell each other about new people they're seeing, or set limits on how often they can go out with someone else, or make sure they're always using protection. Some couples even agree that their main relationship comes first, no matter what. Here's the thing, though. If someone breaks these promises, it's just as hurtful as cheating would be in a regular relationship. The trust gets broken in the same way. The tricky part is that society still looks down on open relationships in a lot of places. This puts people in tough spots where they might pretend to be in a regular relationship when they're around family or at work, but secretly see other people. When that happens, what could have been honest and open turns into lying and sneaking around, which is exactly what they were trying to avoid. And let's be real. Open relationships aren't right for everyone. Some people just naturally feel possessive or get jealous easily. While you can work on those feelings, they don't just disappear. If someone only agrees to an open relationship because they're scared their partner will leave them otherwise, that's going to cause problems. They'll probably end up feeling angry, hurt, and like they're not good enough. Basically, all the same feelings that come with being cheated on. So, what makes the difference between an open relationship and cheating? It all comes down to being honest, making sure everyone actually wants this, and treating each other with respect. It doesn't really matter what kind of relationship you have. What matters is whether both people stick to what they agreed on. Cheating happens when someone deliberately lies and breaks trust, no matter what kind of relationship they're in. Open relationships, when they're done right, try to bring all those hidden attractions and feelings out into the open so couples can talk about them and decide together what works for them. The main point is that any relationship, whether it's just two people or involves others too, needs clear rules that everyone agrees on. It's wrong to think that open relationships automatically have more jealousy or drama. Jealousy can pop up anywhere, and what really matters is how people handle it and talk about it. By giving couples a way to openly discuss being attracted to other people, open relationships try to cut down on secrets. And secrets are usually what lead to betrayal. But this only works if everyone actually commits to being honest. The minute someone starts hiding things, lying about why they're doing something, or not mentioning emotional connections they're forming, the relationship crosses over into cheating territory. If you're thinking about trying an open relationship, you really need to sit down and talk through all the details first. Ask yourselves questions like, how much do we want to know about each other's other relationships? What kinds of things are okay, and what would cross the line? Should there be limits on how often someone sees another person or how emotionally involved they get? These aren't conversations you have once and then forget about. You need to keep talking about this stuff as time goes on because relationships change and grow. That's what makes open relationships more of an ongoing discussion than a one-time decision. People who choose open relationships often find they need to be more responsible and self-aware than they expected. Managing multiple relationships brings its own challenges. You have to juggle schedules, deal with complicated emotions, and really understand yourself and what you need. It takes a lot of maturity, patience, and the ability to put yourself in other people's shoes. On the flip side, some people discover that having everything out in the open gives them a sense of freedom and lets them be more authentic. Instead of sneaking around like people do when they cheat, they get to be honest and share new experiences with their partner. At the end of the day, whether you're in a traditional relationship or an open one, what matters most is staying true to whatever you and your partner have agreed on together. When someone cheats or finds out they've been cheated on, it can feel like their whole world is falling apart. The person who got betrayed might feel shocked, furious, and deeply sad all at once. The person who cheated might be dealing with guilt, shame, or just feeling completely confused about everything. Often, this kind of emotional chaos doesn't just affect the relationship. It can make someone question who they are, whether they're worth loving, and mess with their mental health in general. Taking care of yourself becomes really important during times like this, and it can help you get through it and come out stronger on the other side. One of the most important things you can do is reach out to people who care about you. Friends, family, or even support groups can give you a safe place to let out all those feelings of hurt and anger. Keeping everything bottled up inside can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical problems. When you talk openly with people you trust, it helps you feel like your emotions are valid and normal, plus it keeps you from feeling completely alone. If you're the one who cheated, this might mean talking to someone who can give you perspective without immediately judging you. It's really important to keep both people's privacy protected when dealing with this situation. Stay away from posting on social media or venting in public spaces. This just makes the hurt worse and turns something private into a show for everyone to watch. Getting help from a therapist can make a huge difference. When you work with a counselor one-on-one, you get a safe place to look at your hurt feelings, figure out patterns that keep showing up, and learn better ways to handle things. A good therapist can help both the person who was cheated on and the one who did the cheating work through all the tough emotions like trauma, guilt, and anger. If both people want to try, going to therapy together gives you a place where you can work on building trust back up or figure out if the relationship should end. Therapists know how to help couples have good conversations where everyone gets to talk and be heard, while also pointing out when people aren't communicating well. Being kind to yourself is super important for everyone involved. The person who got betrayed might feel like they're not good enough or blame themselves, wondering if something they did wrong caused the cheating. Doing things like positive self-talk, writing in a journal, or trying meditation can help change those negative thoughts you keep having about yourself. Understanding that the cheating happened because of what the other person chose to do, not because of anything wrong with you, is a big part of getting better. The person who cheated might also need to work on forgiving themselves, but only if they're really taking responsibility for what they did. Taking care of your body gets forgotten when you're dealing with so much emotional pain, but getting exercise, eating well, and sleeping enough can really help you handle stress better. Doing simple things like taking walks outside, trying yoga, or picking up a hobby you enjoy can make you feel better and give your mind a break from constantly thinking about what happened. Some people might want to drink too much or do other things to numb the pain, but this usually makes everything feel worse over time. If this becomes a problem, getting professional help is really important. If you're trying to fix the relationship, you need to be realistic about what to expect. Trust doesn't come back right away. It takes time and consistent good behavior to earn it back. Both people need to be ready for moments when the painful feelings come flooding back, along with things that trigger those memories, and times when progress feels like it's going backward. Having regular conversations, either with a therapist helping or just between yourselves, can help you see how things are going. During these talks, each person can share how they're feeling, talk about what's been hard, and point out things that are getting better. Celebrating the small wins, like getting through a tough moment without falling apart or being able to talk openly about difficult feelings, can give you hope and motivation to keep working at it. If the relationship can't be saved, taking care of yourself is still just as important. Moving on after your relationship falls apart means you have to grieve losing all the plans you made together and face not knowing what comes next. When this happens, people often do better when they focus on growing as individuals, getting back into things they used to enjoy, or even trying new career or school opportunities. Having people who support you and getting guidance from a therapist can really help both partners learn something valuable from what happened instead of staying stuck being bitter about it. Setting up new rules and limits after cheating is also a big part of taking care of yourself. If you're trying to make things work, these boundaries might mean the person who cheated stops talking to the person they had an affair with, shares their phone passwords to help rebuild confidence, or always lets their partner know where they are during times that used to be unexplained. These steps might feel too controlling or invasive to some people, but they can be a temporary way to help healing happen. As trust slowly comes back, couples can talk about changing or loosening these rules, making sure they stay on track in a way that respects everyone's dignity and emotional health. Sometimes, focusing on discovering who you really are and what your identity is can be life-changing. People might realize they had stopped pursuing their dreams or hidden important parts of themselves while in the relationship. Getting back in touch with personal interests, whether that's art, traveling, sports, or causes you care about, can help you feel more in control and boost your self-worth. This inner growth doesn't just help you recover. It can also prepare you for healthier relationships down the road. Another way to heal is finding good ways to express your anger and sadness. Some people turn to art, write poems, or make music to put their emotions into something productive. Physical activities like kickboxing or dancing can help you release built-up frustration while also improving your mood and confidence. For people who like being alone, things like mindfulness retreats, spiritual practices, or spending time in nature can help you think deeply and get your emotions back in balance. Anyone going through the aftermath of cheating needs to remember that healing doesn't happen in a straight line. Days when you feel like you're making progress can be followed by sudden drops back into doubt, anger, or sadness. Instead of seeing these low points as failures, it helps more to think of them as normal parts of emotional recovery. Each setback gives you a chance to practice bouncing back, revisit the ways you cope, and adjust your personal boundaries or relationship rules as needed. Over time, these cycles of facing challenges and responding to them can add up to real emotional growth, creating a foundation for more stable and genuine connections in the future. When we really understand how our feelings, the world around us, and what matters to us personally all work together, we can build relationships that last through tough times. It doesn't matter if you decide to be with just one person, or if you and your partner agree to see other people too. What makes any relationship work well is being completely honest with each other, truly caring about how the other person feels, and always doing what you know is right. When we figure out why people sometimes cheat and see how much it can hurt everyone involved, both couples and single people can make better choices that bring them closer together and help them respect each other more. The best way to create real closeness with someone is to notice what we need and where we might struggle. Then talk about these things openly and kindly with the people we care about.